there, Tanya Ott with Chicago Title here. Today we're going to talk about county office closures and how that's sort of impacting our day-to-day business. So we've recently fielded a lot of questions with regard to two things. First, our ability to record documents and get them placed of record. And the second is our ability to complete title searches on any new orders or kind of orders in process. So first off, we'll tackle recordings. Now, I work in the Central Indiana operation, which is predominantly Marion and all surrounding counties. Fortunately, in our particular footprint, all of our counties accept e-record documents, meaning that we can submit the documents online for electronic recording. Now, that being said, we do have the ability to submit them. However, we don't have any guarantee from each individual county as to how quickly they're processing them. Some counties are closed entirely. Some are working on a skeleton crew. So it's difficult to say the speed of recording and the processing of which. So they are being submitted, but again, the timeline in terms of them actually being posted of record is going to differ county by county. Now, the second piece that I want to talk about is our ability to complete title searches. So we've received a list daily, up through the governor's announcement earlier in the week with regard to each county office and whether or not they're open, closed, on skeleton crew, whether or not there's an ability for online document retrieval, etc. And of course, there are a number of counties in the state, and not all counties have the same technical capabilities and so forth. Again, in the Central Indiana market, we're very fortunate in that we do have a lot of electronic access to information. So although we have that access, there still may be some occasions where full documents are not available for us to view. So for instance, court documents, perhaps there's a divorce decree. That document isn't necessarily accessible in the same manner that deeds and mortgages are. And there could be an occasion where we may ask for your help and need to get in contact with a seller to request a copy of a document that we don't have online access to if the county in fact is closed and will not allow us to enter. So just know that that is a possibility. To the extent that that's going to happen, I honestly can't say. But again, it's something that I wouldn't be taken by surprise by. Again, I think we're in a very temporary situation, but that's where we are today. Now, what I will also say is that at closing, prior to closing, on title commitments, now that we're in this period with a lot of county offices being closed or having reduced services, etc., we have included an exception on our title commitment related to COVID-19. And ultimately, what that exception does is puts on notice all the clients that we may have some limited accessibility to documents, and it also addresses the recordings as well. So that exception does appear on the commitment. And at closing, we are having a document executed by buyer and seller. It's called an affidavit and indemnity agreement. That's the document being used in Central Indiana. Our Northwest Indiana operation, I believe, is using a GAP personal undertaking form, which is more customarily used in that part of the state. But the documents are virtually the same in that the primary purpose, one, is to put on notice to the buyer and seller that, again, our ability to record documents, while we can submit, we cannot guarantee how quickly those documents will be placed of record. So for a buyer, this means that proof of ownership via county record is going to be delayed to some extent. We don't have any way of determining what that timeline looks like in terms of when their documents get placed of record. It also would prohibit them from being able to take out a home equity line of credit or something along those lines, because again, our closing documents must get recorded and show proof of ownership before they would be able to do anything further like that. So for the buyer, it's primarily a disclosure related to the recordings. On the seller side of the transaction, the affidavit is very similar to a vendor's affidavit, wherein we're having the seller certify to us that there aren't any unknown liens or recent notices or anything at all that's recently been filed that would adversely impact the title to the property. The seller has the responsibility to notify us if, say, they recently were made aware that they have a federal tax lien, and that didn't appear on the title commitment. There's always historically been a gap period as it relates to doing title searches. And again, every county's a little bit different in terms of how far back that date goes. But a seller has a responsibility and obligation to make known if there are matters that they're aware of that have not been disclosed on the title commitment. That document also goes on to say that the seller, cannot post-closing under any circumstances do anything to adversely impact the title to the property. And it has language in there that the seller is certainly responsible and liable to correct any matters that would be that are placed after the closing date. So again, this is a document that will be presented at closing for both buyer and seller signature. For our lender partners, as it relates to that title exception, upon execution of that affidavit by buyers and sellers, that exception is removed on a loan policy of title insurance. So that will be cleared as it relates to loan policies. But that's the information that I have for you today. Certainly, if you have any questions, I would encourage you to reach out. Obviously, things are changing still kind of daily to some degree, and we want to do our best to keep you informed of how the business is impacted. And, we also want to know how we can be a resource for you. If you have questions for the Central Indiana area, you're welcome to drop comments on the post below. Or if you want to reach out to myself or any one of our sales team, you can go to ChicagoTitleIndy.com, and on the top banner it says people. You can click there and you can see all our fabulous salespeople and get our emails, phone numbers, and so forth. For our Northwest Indiana operation, you can go to northwestindiana.ctic.com, click people, and you'll see Jamie and her fabulous team up there. But again, drop any questions that you have in the comments. If there are other topics or things that you would like to learn more about or have questions on, please reach out. So that's all I have for you this evening. Next topic we're going to talk about that's upcoming and coming soon is remote online notary. So stay tuned and look for that. If you haven't liked our Chicago Title Indiana page, like it so you can continue to see our videos. Thank you so much. Have a great day.